Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Hello, my beautiful friends and loyal listeners. It's always a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you so much for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z, spelled X-E-N. And also remember that we're now live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m., on YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m., and all episodes of A Moment of Zen are also available on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV platform, streaming 24/7. Today we have an amazing show lined up for you in our influencer segment, brought to you by Revere Securities. We are featuring 28-year-old William Rodgers. He's an American professional race car driver. We're chatting why NASCAR continues to be so popular, his amazing career, and the importance of staying true to yourself. In our newest segment called Travel Treasures, brought to you by Navé, we're featuring Nikki Giavasis, entrepreneur, author, and mega travel influencer. Today, we're chatting about the importance of traveling, getting up and getting out to see the world, how to travel smartly and economically while building amazing memories, and how Navé is revolutionizing tourism. In our entertainment and pop culture segment, brought to you by Metropolitan Lifestyles, we are featuring my good friend, Chase Backer, businessman, builder, and publisher of Metropolitan 25A and Metropolitan Palm Beach. Today, we're chatting about the magazine industry. Is it still relevant? And are people still reading hard copy magazines? In our Open Metaverse segment, hello, Open Metaverse, brought to you by Animoca Brands, we are featuring the awesome Mohammed Azeldine. Mo heads up the tokenomics team at Animoca. He's joined by Jordan Freed, founder and CEO of NFT.com. Today, we're chatting about the collapse of Sam Bankman's cryptocurrency exchange FTX, what went wrong, and the impacts this will have on our industry. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with our influencer segment brought to you by Revere Securities, featuring William Rodgers, professional race car driver, chatting all things NASCAR. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Revere Securities. Revere is committed to building a relationship of trust in which they work closely with you to help you define your objectives, explore alternatives, and choose the financial and investment strategies that are most appropriate for you. Go to reveresecurities.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Coming up in our influencer segment brought to you by Revere Securities. Today, we're featuring 28-year-old William Rodgers. He's an American professional race car driver, born in Maui, Hawaii, and currently resides in North Carolina. At the age of 3, Will was diagnosed with primary sclerosing cholangitis, PSC, a rather serious liver disease. He now runs the Will Rodgers Liver Health Foundation. Will returned to the Nascar Xfinity Series in June of 2021 with Sam Hunt Racing on a 3-race schedule at Nashville Superspeedway, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course, and the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. Now, there are many different types of motorsports, but NASCAR is one that remains as popular as ever in the United States. Even though it has been around for over 60 years, people are still drawn to the excitement and drama that unfolds on the track. So why does NASCAR continue to be so popular? Well, fans all over the U.S. continue to enjoy this sport, with a new study finding that NASCAR fans consider themselves some of the most patriotic sports fans in the world. Now, this is because NASCAR offers something other sports don't, a sense of community. When you go to a NASCAR race, you're surrounded by people who share your passion for the sport. And this feeling of camaraderie is one of the things that keeps fans coming back year after year. Welcoming now to the show is the amazing Will Rodgers. Welcome, superstar.
Wow, thank you very much. That was a heck of an intro and a great way to summarize NASCAR as a community. But
Absolutely. Congrats on all your success. So let's start from the beginning. You were diagnosed with primary sclerosing cholangitis at the age of 3 and became a liver disease survivor. Talk to me about this liver condition.
Absolutely. PSC is something that maybe not a lot of people know about. Actually, in general, liver disease is not necessarily top of mind, at least for Americans. And we're trying to change that a little bit. But for me, my liver journey started at 3, like you said, diagnosed with PSC really out of the blue. I was a healthy young kid, playful, energetic, really had no issues that my parents could notice. But after I think a trip out of town, and we came home, and my parents started to realize, okay, Will might be a little bit sick. And I was a little, slow, lethargic. And as it progressed over the next day or two, they realized, okay, we need to take him to the doctor. There's something wrong. And we saw our local pediatrician there. And my mom tells the story better than anybody that when he diagnosed me or examined me, he was typically a very frequent talker. He would talk your ear off for hours. My mom said he came out of the exam room white as a ghost and couldn't say a word because he realized that my liver was in big trouble. So my abdomen was swollen. I was jaundiced. My eyes were yellow. So I had all the signs for liver problems. He very quickly, referred us to go to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. And I was then treated by the great hepatology team led by Dr. Kathleen Schwartz there for the next 2.5 years after being diagnosed with PSC. And so for PSC, there is no real treatment, unfortunately, but the doctors there did everything they possibly could to combat it. And I am one of the lucky ones that has been able to be treated with what's available and emerge on the other side to be healthy and consider my PSC an underlying chronic condition for about 20 years.
You have come such a long way, and thank you so much for educating me and our listeners on that. It's definitely something, to research and look out for, but you are definitely a survivor. So thank you for that. Now getting back to NASCAR. So NASCAR is popular because it's a sport with such rich history and tradition, and many of the biggest names in racing have come from NASCAR, including Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt Sr., Jimmy Johnson. And this history and tradition helped to create a really strong sense of loyalty among fans, which is what we've been talking about, which keeps them coming back year after year. How old were you when you started professionally racing? I know that you were introduced to go-karting at the age of 9, but how old were you when you really took it to the next level and seriously?
Yeah, I took it really seriously around 2016. So I, at that point, had been racing go-karts, motocross, off-road, some amateur sports car kind of racing. But around that time, I realized that there were better opportunities in the world of NASCAR for all the reasons you just mentioned, with it being very big, a lot of big names coming from it and a real industry behind it. I realized, okay, that's something that I have to pursue. That's what's going to keep my racing career going. And I made that transition into stock car racing. It wasn't an easy one, I could tell you that. I was coming from low horsepower cars, front wheel drive, for that matter, into a big 700 horsepower, 4,000 pound or 3,000 pound, stock car that pretty much primarily only drove on circles. So making that transition was a big one, but I was very lucky to find success early on, find some really good people to kind of latch on to, learn the ropes from. And it's progressed over the last 6 years or so for us to be racing part-time in the Xfinity Series. So it's been a heck of a journey.
Heck of a journey. You should say so. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've come such a long way. So did you formerly train, and what does your training routine currently look like?
Yeah, there's honestly not a real formal way of training, I guess you could say, for stock car racing. But I think a lot of people might find interesting is, it is a very physically, reliant sport. You have to be very physically able. You got to be training all the time. You have to have very good cardio. A lot of people might think, oh, just driving a car, it's super easy. But imagine this, you run a triathlon and you go to the gym and you do your weightlifting session, and then you hop in your car, roll up the windows on a very hot day and blast the heat for about 3 hours. That's essentially what it's like. Me being a smaller guy, I can't retain a lot of water, but I'll lose 6 to 7 pounds of water weight throughout a race. And our body is put through so many different things when it comes to fighting the pedals, the steering wheel, the G forces. It's a very physically demanding sport. So I'm in the gym 5 days a week. I have to eat very healthy. I have to stay on top of my hydration, not only for my well-being in general, but also as a professional athlete.
That's some dedication, my friend. That's definitely a lot of hard work. On the onset, we see it as the viewers, and it looks really cool and fun to watch you out there. But yeah, definitely a lot of work preparation and dedication. Now, NASCAR has something for everyone. There's also so many different ways to watch races, whether it be live in person or on television. This makes it easy for people to follow and keep up with the action, no matter where they are. And for a fact, NASCAR remains popular is that it's always evolving. The organization is constantly looking for ways to improve the fan experience, whether it's by introducing new technologies or making changes to the racing format. When fans come up to you and mention a moment or a race from your career, which one comes up the most?
I'd say the one that comes up the most that I remember, that most fans remember, is my real breakout race, I guess, in 2017, where I didn't end up winning the race. I ended up finishing second, but I was teammates with NASCAR champion Kevin Harvick, and he and I raced at Sonoma Raceway in the K&N Series. Head to head, we pulled away from every other Cup driver and every other K&N driver in the field several times, and ended up having a heck of a battle towards the end. That race sticks out because when I started that race, honestly, nobody knew who I was. I was just a kid from the West Coast, just getting into stock car racing. But after that race, I got out. After Kevin did beat me, I learned a lot of lessons that day, but he beat me, and he actually sung my praises essentially to the media, and I became a nobody and then into a somebody that day. And everybody in the industry knew who I was. And I'm still definitely recognized for that race a lot, even to today. So
Congratulations.
Yeah, I will say I went back the next year and I won the race because of the things he taught me. So I was able to, really benefit in many ways. One, become a somebody, and then really learn how to improve my racecraft.
You had a great mentor, sir. So definitely came full circle. Now we have about 3 minutes left, and I wanted to get your insight on this. So Devin Roos is just about the second openly gay driver in NASCAR history. He came out 2 years ago, and what was the hardest thing he'd ever done, he said, is coming out. But the most amazing thing was that he received so much support from other drivers, and he said it had been amazing, and he hoped his story could inspire others facing similar challenges. And recently, gay motorsports racer Zach Herron also made his long-awaited debut in NASCAR, in a NASCAR affiliated race in Phoenix earlier this month. And he made his debut as an out gay man. What do you say to these men for coming out and embracing who they are in such a heterosexually male-dominated sport?
I say you have to do it the way that you want to do it. But what I've experienced and what Devin's experienced, who's a really good buddy of mine, and I've got to know his perspective and what he's gone through. And then from my perspective too, being part of that community, but really kind of doing it in my own way, just being comfortable with yourself, but knowing the fact that the majority of people in this industry, although there might be a negative connotation about it, whether it being, what you mentioned before or something else, there is a lot of acceptance. There's a lot of inclusivity. There's actually very little that I've experienced of the opposite. And I think that it really just takes people being comfortable with who they are, maybe not pushing it in one way or another that would, impose anybody's time or interest, but just being yourself. And I think that when it comes down to it, being professional athletes and influencers, the way I've thought about it is for fans, it's a lot easier to hate an idea than hate a person. So if you can become a person that people believe in on the racetrack, off the racetrack, and put forth your values and be a good person, give back to the community, no matter who you are, you're going to be accepted, in my opinion. And that's kind of what I've been living by recently.
Oh, you are such an old soul. Wise words coming out of your mouth at 28 years old. You are reminding me of somebody who's, teaching your younger self or teaching people out there who are also doubting themselves of who they are, who they are comfortable with reflecting to the world. So thank you so much for being so transparent and honest. yourself. That's truly, it goes a long way because people look up to you.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been a long journey, but I've just found my own way and hoping to help influence others do the same.
Absolutely. So you are definitely a self-made racer, and you are an emerging shining star, of American motorsports for sure. You are a brand ambassador for amazing companies such as Kelly Benefit Strategies and Dryden Performance. I know that you have so many others lined up as well. But if you have about 1 minute. If someone paid you $5 million to design a new track somewhere, what kind of track would you make, and what elements would it have?
That's a really good question. I haven't really thought too much about that. I'd say I'd probably make something similar to the Charlotte Roval. I really enjoy that track where it's the mixture between the oval and the road course. It's very tight technical, almost feels like a street course. But what's neat from a fan's perspective is you can be up in the stands and see all of the action, right? A lot of road courses, which are my favorite, you see the car for like 10, 15 seconds at the most, and then they're gone for an entire lap and they disappear in the trees or over the hill or what have you. But the Roval, it's an immersive experience. I would design something like that. Definitely some elevation, some tight technical stuff, and would make it really exciting.
Oh, I love it. You know your stuff. You definitely know your stuff. And I love the way that you just articulated that. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting. It was such a pleasure. Great perspective, great conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
You guys definitely have to check out Will Rodgers. Head directly to his website, willrodgersracing.com, or you can check him up on the gram or on Twitter, Will Rodgers _. That was our influencer segment brought to you by Revere Securities. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Revere Securities. Revere is committed to building a relationship of trust in which they work closely with you to help you define your objectives, explore alternatives, and choose the financial and investment strategies that are most appropriate for you. Go to reveresecurities.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. In our newest segment called Travel Treasures, brought to you by Navé, we are featuring the awesome Nikki Giavasis, entrepreneur, author, and mega travel influencer. Today, we're chatting about the importance of traveling, getting up and getting out to see the world, how to travel smartly and economically while building amazing memories, and how Navé is revolutionizing tourism. At Navé, they're guided by their mandate of bringing the treasures of the earth to the people of the world. Traveling is more than just visiting places and taking pictures. It brings out new ideas and perspectives and is a true investment in yourself. In today's data-driven world, the world is literally at the tips of our fingers. But while technology allows us to stay connected, it's also more isolating than ever. With a 24/7 news cycle that often paints a dreary scene, it can be hard to challenge the status quo and understand the world for what it truly is. And I find that one of the best ways to overcome this barrier is to travel. Travel as much as you can. Traveling, as they say, is food for the soul. You get to immerse yourself in the culture, cuisine, and nature of every place you visit. Navé is more than a travel portal, guys. It's the combination of years of experience in the travel industry combined with cutting-edge technology, which allows its members to experience the world, spend less time surfing the internet, and more time surfing the big waves of Hawaii and Australia. And as a mom, that's extremely important to me. Whether it's ancient cities, breathtaking views, or charming small towns, Navé makes a vacation as easy as ABC. Here to chat life and travel is the amazing Nikki Giavasis. Welcome to the show, beautiful.
Hello, how are you? Good
So
to see you.
Good to see you too. You look beautiful and refreshed. So nice to have you back on.
Thank you. I just got back from traveling last night, actually.
You are always traveling. You are always traveling. Okay. So, Nikki, according to new data from PricewaterhouseCoopers, nearly 47% of Americans will travel this holiday season, despite concerns over flight cancellation and rising travel costs. However, according to a recent report, most Americans, or about 70%, will be hitting the road, and many will end up using a combination of air and road travel to reach their final destination. Nikki, talk to me about what makes you a traveler and a travel influencer, and why traveling is so important to you.
Well, there's nothing like making the memories of traveling. You can be in your town, but you're not experiencing a new culture. You're not experiencing new memories with your family. And those memories are unforgettable. So it's like you have to see the world and see other ways that people live. So I love going to new places, like especially around the world, and just experiencing things with my family and having those lifelong memories.
It's definitely important to get out of your comfort zone. And while social media gives us virtual access to the world, we also become increasingly comfortable with our surroundings and tend to miss out forming connections in the in the real world. So they say we learn the most when we're uncomfortable, and this could not be more true when it comes to traveling. So it's definitely worth going. Now, what do you look for when choosing a destination, and how many trips do you take average per year?
Oh my goodness. I like to experience new cultures and like challenge myself. So if it's something like around the world in a place I've never been and maybe a language I don't speak, I like to be up for that challenge and just see the way that other people live. And in a year, I try to travel once a month, but I wasn't so much in the lockdown, but at least once a month to get out and explore somewhere and make a memory.
For sure, because it's so important, like you said, for new cultural experiences. And one of the most important reasons why traveling is important is getting to immerse yourself in, like you said, that local culture. And very often it becomes easy for us to form judgments and opinions on different races and cultures based on what we read online. But each place has its own unique culture, and getting to experience this helps us grow, psychologically in a way that no classroom or book ever could. So traveling is definitely something that I always advocate for. Now, how important is it for you to also vacation with family and your grandkids? Geez, I can't believe you have grandkids. And what is the hardest part about traveling in a group?
Oh, wow. I think it's actually better vacationing with family because you get to see the world through the children's eyes. So with my grandson, we traveled ever since he was a baby. And then when my daughter was pregnant with my new granddaughter. And so seeing his eyes light up when he goes to the beach or goes to a new place or hears a new language and they're speaking to him in a new language, that's the best way to learn. And it's like that freshness of, the child's eyes versus like we kind of get used to the way things are. And then when we see things like that way, it just makes it all fresh and amazing.
And what's the hardest thing about traveling in a group?
Oh, wow. Different people, some people want to stay in, some people want to explore. So it's kind of like trying to find that like happy medium because some people do want to go do all the activities and other people want to like stay and rest and just like eat and like sit by the pool or on the beach. So you kind of have to make everyone happy and find a happy medium or let some people, go explore while others stay in. You figure it out.
You figured out. Yeah, a recent report also looked at who the big spenders are going to be this holiday season. Nikki, it's crazy. The results show that millennials are most likely to take a trip and spend the most on it. So that includes myself. And those
Mhm.
between the ages of 26 and 40 plan to allocate an average of $620 or $30 so for travel compared to the $523 that Gen Xers, which are ages 41 to 55, will spend. Not a big difference, but interesting to see those statistics. And finally, online booking sites, Nikki, they remain the most popular way to book a trip, with 45% of travelers planning to use them this holiday season when traveling. So, you learn to live in the present when you travel, and the world becomes a different place, and you see it in a much different way than if you were to just stay home day to day. Talk to me about how important is the search engine and travel site you use to have a great experience.
Oh my God. It's everything because you could pick a place just based on pictures. And if you don't have a good search engine with the proper reviews of how the place really is, you could end up with a horrific experience versus an amazing experience. So you have to be so careful who you search through and what site you choose.
It's true because, interestingly enough, Navé's travel getaway and forever weeks, you're guaranteed the best prices the industry has to offer. And Navi is the only travel portal right now that pays you each time you refer someone who purchases a membership, whether it's the travel getaway portal or the forever weeks package. You're actually making money every time you refer someone. So planning a vacation trip, I know for me, causes such anxiety. The thought of having to search for the best deals and the best time can be so overwhelming, which is another reason why, as a mom, I love that Navi is the solution to that problem. It caters to every type of traveler, business, leisure, or bleisure, so to speak. It has two components. But I do love that site. So for me, a good site that's well packed with good links, that's giving you great reviews, good visuals is extremely important.
I agree because like you already have enough on your shoulders with all of the things that come along with traveling with the family. So if you take that worry off, it's so much easier because I've had to do it for personal travel and business travel when I'm orchestrating events. So just knowing that everyone is going to be safe and sound and get the best rate and get the best experience, that's so important.
And for sure, it's extremely important. And it's interesting because you have all these companies that are popping up, offering these travel experiences and all these perks. But I do my research, right? So when
Mhm.
I signed up for the Navé Travel Getaway annual membership, I realized very quickly that as a member, I got access to really, really steep discounts for hotel stays, even auto rentals, excursions, and a whole bunch of other things that it was not offered on your average travel website. Plus, this really cool membership, Nikki, it's cool because it offers the option to access way more luxurious condos, vacation villas, these fantasy getaways, and access to even a personal travel concierge through its Forever Weeks. It's a one-time payment membership, but that's the biggest thing for me. I want to call one person, and I want that person to be able to handle my travel. That was priceless for me. So these are the types of little perks that I like to see in some of these travel websites. What about you? What do you look for?
Well, I do look for that because say you're planning like a 5-day trip, you might extend to a 9-day trip just because you're getting such an amazing deal and you're getting such a high quality for the money. So the value for the money, which happened to us recently in Mexico. We planned, I think it was 5 days, we ended up staying 9 just because of that reason. So it's like you might stay and explore longer and just have so many, it's all about you want to have pictures and content and memories and all of that's combined now. So it's like when you have the activities and the good deal and it's a luxury place, then you're winning on all aspects.
You're winning on definitely all aspects. Talk to me about what has been some of your favorite destinations to travel individually and also with the family.
Wow. Most all of my travel has been with family for the last few years, but I love Tahiti and I love Bali. It's like those were my favorites so far. Actually, in Mexico too. Those are my three favorites, but those were all with family. But Tahiti and Bali were before the grandbabies, and then Mexico was with the grandbaby.
So do you look for experiences that offer kids services and kids activities, or do you just rather create uh, your own activities for the week?
We do create our own, but actually the resort does offer yoga and stuff like that in a lot of places. So I like creating your own and then also being able to pick and choose. So if you're staying at a villa, maybe someone comes and does yoga at the villa, or they bring masseuses, or you can do other activities on the beach or ride horses. I like to do all those, or like going to waterfalls, doing all kinds of excursions. I've just not explored into like zip lining and parasailing and stuff like that. I'm not that adventurous yet, but I like to do all the rest.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on and giving us your perspective on all the travel and hustle and bustle of how to get things done effectively and creating beautiful memories, because you are the queen of that. Anybody who follows you on social media knows that you are in these exotic locations and you bring the kids and the grandkids, like you said, and you always look fabulous when you're doing it. You're like dressed to the T's, your hair's all done perfectly, you're posing with the grandson. I'm like, how long does it take her to get this picture?
It's actually so quick, but sometimes I go to take a picture alone and he's like, no, he's holding my hand, or it's like, you'll see that he's still there somewhere. But
Oh,
thank you.
I can't even believe you're a grandmother. Guys, you have to. I know those listening haven't seen Nikki Giavasis yet, but definitely check her out on the gram at Nikki Giavasis. You're going to see she's doesn't look like a grandma. She's not your average grandma. But thank you so much for coming on. We're out of time, my darling.
All right. Thank you so much.
Definitely have to check out Nikki Giavasis. Head to her website, Nikki Giavasis Official, or at Nikki Giavasis Official on Instagram. Now, when things get hard, you often feel like the burden of the world is on your shoulders. But we need to remember that the world is large and we are just one small part of it. Traveling has the ability to help you realize the true value of living life to the fullest. When you look back on your life, it's not the material possessions that you'll remember, but rather the experiences you've had, the people you've met, and the incredible places you have seen during your travels. Although wealth and success can seem like the end goal, the experiences and memories you make are just as important. Definitely head to navi.travel.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. In our entertainment and pop culture segment, brought to you by Metropolitan Lifestyles, we are featuring the awesome Chase Backer, businessman, builder, and publisher of Metropolitan 25A and Metropolitan Palm Beach Magazines. Chase's hobbies include flying and riding his motorcycle around the Hamptons and Palm Beach. Ah, the life of a celebrity publisher. His latest endeavors involve opening a state-of-the-art med spa in Palm Beach, specializing in stem cell therapy, and launching Metropolitan Lifestyles, a new show streaming on Kathy Ireland's Your Home One Source, covering the latest in fashion, pop culture, entertainment, art, and wellness. Today, we're chatting about the magazine industry. Is it still relevant? And are people still reading hard copy magazines? According to recent stats, the total revenue of the magazine publishing industry in the US is $30 billion. That's billion with a B. Magazines, like all traditional media, have faced many challenges in the digital age, and it has become increasingly difficult for print publications to keep their readers. But contrary to newspapers and despite fierce competition from free online outlets, magazines continue to perform comparatively well. An annual study found that the total number of magazine readers in the US remained well above 220 million in every year between 2016 and 2021. Additionally, the average monthly audience of popular magazines exceeds 60 million. And for each of those top 5 publications and the well-known weekly People magazine, they ring in an average monthly reach of over 100 million people. These are crazy stats, but leading us to believe people are still reading. Now, welcoming to the show is the awesome publisher, Chase Backer. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Jen. How are you?
Good to have you on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm honored to have been on the September 2021 cover issue of Metropolitan. Now I get to feature you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that. And it's a good question that you had earlier. Is it relevant? Is the publications right now in print relevant as digital is, and the digital take over? And it is very relevant, and people love holding it and collecting it just like the old days.
Yes, and you've been in the industry for quite some time. I love flipping through a fresh periodical where you see and also you're kind of feeling the crisp pages. That's very rewarding to me, but I'm a big fashionista and I love to skim through all those editorials. How did you get started in publishing, and for how long have you been at this?
Well, I got started. I was actually a passion of mine since I was 19 years old, and I knew I wanted to be in advertisement or publishing. I just didn't know how to go about doing it. So I never went to school for it, but I became a builder and developer in New York City, and later on I was able to afford to get into the publishing industry. And it takes a lot of money and effort, but most of all, it takes passion. And if you want to do something, and I'll tell you a little story. I used to call up advertising agencies and ask them if I could work for them, and they said if I didn't go to school, I probably would not have a chance, even at the bottom level. Now that I've produced my own publications, I have the advertising agencies work for me. They ask my opinion, and it's just a full turnaround. And I have to say, America is a beautiful place where you can just flourish and do very well with just a dream.
And you have done that, and quite eloquently too. You have selected an array of beautiful cover models throughout all these years. You have been doing this for over a decade and a half, maybe plus. How do you go about selecting your cover models?
Whatever is relevant at the time. We try to bring new faces, as well as people who are in new movies. So we feature fashion, art, and we feature lifestyles, motor vehicles, travel. So we try to bring everything to everyone, and so we have multiple readers, throughout the New York and Florida. So we try to capture each one of them. So we bring, as far as the covers are concerned, whatever's relevant, whoever's doing movies or rock stars or what have you, and we try to bring the most attractive covers to the people. So when they see the magazine, they pick it up and they start reading it. It's just an attractive cover is what we always strive for.
Yes, people do judge a book by its cover, and everything that glitters in this world apparently is gold. Now, which is your most celebrated cover?
I can't say I have a favorite because
Good answer.
I'm telling you, each one. I'm going to say you because you really you graced us and you're beautiful, and that's what we love. We love beautiful women on the cover, good-looking men also. But Zen, you really had a great impact on us when we first met, and we continue to be friends. And you've gone many places, and you've been to a lot of great places yourself. And I think you're a model and actress, and now you're on radio, and it's amazing. But getting back to the covers, each cover, each magazine that comes out to me is my baby. It's beautiful. I look at it as my first one every time.
It's a work of art. Who's up next for the Christmas issue or going into January? Do we have a sneak peek, or we're not going to tell you?
Yeah, we have Kimberly Guilfoyle on the cover. That we just shot her at her home. We're big supporters, and we're not political. The magazine's not political, but we like to promote and give features to both sides.
And
So
she's definitely a trending millennial mom and public figure, and a great advocate for a lot of amazing causes. So big shout out to Kimberly
a lot
Guilfoyle.
of great causes. She's an amazing woman. We've known
Yes.
each other for over 10 years, and very loyal to me. We help each other along the way, and she's an amazing person.
Now let's chat. Now let's chat the digital transformation. So the magazine publishing market is expected to grow, Chase, just by from 2021 to 2026, it's expected to grow by $2.7 billion. And the adoption of magazines as a focused advertising platform is one of the key magazine publishing market trends contributing to market growth. And with the growing prominence of digital advertising, advertisers are using native advertising in digital magazines. What made you want to launch Metropolitan Lifestyles, which is now a streaming television version of basically your magazines on an OTT platform, Kathy Ireland specifically?
Yes, exactly. The reason why, because we're in with the trends, and let's face it, everyone has electronic on them. So whether it's in the office or on hand, and we like to be in the forefront of all our industries. So that particular reason is for people to see us and not be dismissed with just print. So we're digital, print, and now we're on TV and with the lifestyles.
And big shout out to our editor Megan, who's also a big contributor on making sure that the first pilot episode is flawless. Thank you, Megan. Big shout out to you.
Shout out.
Now, Chase, let's talk about what made you want to invest in a med spa. We have about 4.5 minutes in this segment left. So regenerative medicine is a cellular level therapy that aims to improve the function of damaged or diseased tissue or organs by introducing cells to replace damaged cells. And today, regenerative medicine is being used to treat medical conditions across a range of medical specialties, including orthopedics, rheumatology, cardiology, neurology, immunology, and specifically because of their ability to differentiate into cells that carry out the roles needed in a variety of organs. Stem cells are an essential regenerative medicine tool. And when stem cells are introduced into damaged tissue or organ, they have the ability to evolve and carry out its necessary functions, compensating for the damaged cell. And this is all extremely important because, as a minimally invasive process, regenerative medicine harnesses the natural capabilities of stem cells and the body's own ability to heal, providing an opportunity to avoid invasive procedures. And that's what we're talking about, avoiding invasive procedures. So for patients with injuries or chronic diseases, regenerative medicine is a source of hope. Talk to me about the clinic that you just opened up and why you are so passionate about this.
Okay, yeah, we're very passionate about regenerative medicine. The reason why we're opening is because we want to let everyone know that there's a way for you to feel better, to look better, and it doesn't mean taking pills. It doesn't mean going to the doctor and just, living a miserable life. So there's a way where we can actually reverse aging, and we found out how to do that. So when you come to our clinic, we will take care of you inside and outside. So we will make you look beautiful on the outside, and we will also make you feel amazing on the inside. We have a therapy, which a hormone replacement therapy, as well as regenerative medicine. I can't get into the specifics, but I have to let you know that when you come here, we will make you feel good the way you should.
And it's
I
in
cannot
Palm
go
Beach.
into the specifics, but I'll go on the aesthetic part of it. We will do the microneedling, we'll do the facials, we'll do the injectables, whether it's Botox or fillers. We will also do body contouring. We have a floating bath, we have a hyperbaric chamber, all the fun stuff, all the stuff that makes you feel good when you come in and go out. We also have training, one-on-one training, and IV therapy, which means it's vitamin therapy. So you could really feel amazing to come here. Not to mention, we have a 2,000 square foot lounge just dedicated for just relaxing, having espresso, maybe a glass of champagne, some caviar. We have a beautiful waterfall, so it's a great place to just come and relax, enjoy yourself, and then feel good. If you would like to have some procedures done, we're able to do that for you. If not, you can just come in and meet somebody and just go shopping and have a great time.
I love it. Med Spa,
and
this is in Palm Beach. It's called Med
Spa. Palm
Spa.
Beach, we do it the Palm Beach way. It's very high end. It's luxury. It's a place to really enjoy yourself and make you feel good inside, outside. So when you leave, you're happy. Yeah, we have celebrities that will be coming here. We have sports figures that are coming also for this type of procedures, and we're just very, very excited about it. We'll be open in 3 weeks. We're not open yet, but we'll be open in 3 weeks. We're going to have a huge party that we're going to throw, and it's going to be a James Bond party where the men have to dress in tuxedos and the women dress in gowns.
Very excited. Chase, let's just be mindful of the time. Let's go back. So I have about a minute left here. So you ride a motorcycle, you hang out with famed politicians and celebrities. You're quite the celebrity yourself.
I've been riding motorcycles since I was 14 years old.
So there you go. You're quite the celebrity yourself.
And racing cars, also Porsches. I used to race when I was in my 20s. And
so
I fly airplanes as well. So I love to go speed. I love speed.
Okay, clearly. If you can go back and be anything but a publisher and an entrepreneur, clearly my question was, what would it be? But obviously you would probably a race car driver is probably where I'm going with this.
Well, I tell you something, if I ever would have to go back and redo life, I probably will do the same thing as I'm doing right now, because I have everything that I've ever wanted and that I've ever strived for. And I still continue to strive for stuff, and my brain still works very well. And I have new ventures all the time. I love stuff being thrown at me. I love to do multiple things, and I enjoy life. I love America. America is it's the best place on earth to live in. God bless America, and God bless everything and our forefathers for creating this amazing place that we all live in for you and me, San.
I love it, Chase. Thank you so much. Well, we are out of time. You have stolen the show. I should hand you the mic. And I love chatting with you. We'll definitely have you come back on again.
Thank you so much for having me. God bless you.
God bless. That was our entertainment and pop culture segment brought to us by the newly created Metropolitan Lifestyles. That was Chase Backer, businessman, builder, publisher of Metropolitan 25A and Metropolitan Palm Beach Magazines. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
All right, you ready for some trivia?
Yes.
All right, here we go. In ancient Greece, throwing an apple at someone was a declaration of what?
Apple pie.
Love. In ancient Greece, throwing an apple at a woman was seen as a marriage proposal. Note that.
Oh.
All right, next question. What is the only thing you can lose and never get it back?
Love.
Oh, that's true. Okay, I'll give you that one.
Okay.
The answer was time, but love is a good one too. How many months have 28 days?
How many what?
How many months have
2.
How many months have 28 days?
10.
No, all of them.
Oh,
12.
duh.
How many
That's all.
How many sides does a circle have?
28
Sides?
days.
How many sides does a circle have?
28 days.
No, 2. The inside and the
backwards.
outside. You're going backwards. Okay. Okay. What about this? What's the only food that never expires?
Only food.
Yeah, food that never expires.
A woman.
The answer is honey, Chase. When excavating ancient
That's what I
Egypt-
said. It's the same thing. Honey. Woman, honey.
When excavating ancient Egypt tombs, archaeologists found pots of honey thousands of years old that were still edible. All right, well, that was our trivia.
I knew that.
Chase, yeah, I know you did. Women, honey, kind of works, right? All right, we're definitely out of time, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on. Always a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you for having me, Jen.
That was our entertainment and pop culture segment brought to you by Metropolitan Lifestyles. That was the awesome Chase Backer, businessman, builder, publisher of Metropolitan 25A and Metropolitan Palm Beach Magazines. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Animoca Brands as a worldwide industry leader in digital, entertainment, blockchain, gamifications, and digital property rights. Animoca Brands plays a key role in the future growth of the metaverse. Ranked by the Financial Times as a high-growth company, Animoca Brands creates a new asset class, GameFi economies, and a more equitable digital framework contributing to the building of the open metaverse. For more information and to become part of the excitement, go to animocabrands.com. That's animocabrands.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Today in Hello Open Metaverse, brought to you by Animoca Brands, we're chatting with returning guest Mohammed Ezeldin. Mo heads up the tokenomics team at Animoca Brands, a leader in digital entertainment, blockchain, and gamification that is working to advance digital property rights and contribute to the establishment of the open metaverse. Today, he's joined by Jordan Freed, founder and CEO of NFT.com. Today, we're chatting about the collapse of Sam Bankman-Fried's cryptocurrency exchange, FTX, what went wrong, and the impacts this will have on the industry. Crypto exchange FTX filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection not long ago after a swift fall from grace. The company's valuation plunged from $32 billion to bankruptcy in a matter of days, dragging down founder and CEO Sam Bankman-Fried's $16 billion net worth to near zero. So far, the fallout has meant the loss, freeze, or write down of at least $1.8 billion in funds, comprising mostly equity investors from past funding rounds, and firms who held money with FTX. It also accounts for the hundreds of millions of dollars in credit, loans, and acquisition financing between FTX, its U.S. subsidiary, Alameda Research, and outside parties. Now, interestingly enough, Alameda was a major trader in the cryptocurrency space and traded frequently on FTX's platform. Surprise, surprise, Sam Bankman-Fried was the founder and majority owner of Alameda. Now, he eventually ceded control of its operations and focused primarily on his role as CEO of crypto exchange FTX, which he founded back in 2019. At its peak, FTX amassed a valuation of roughly $32 billion and was the world's third largest cryptocurrency exchange by volume. So what went wrong? Well, here to chat FTX and give us perspective is Jordan and Mohammed. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us on.
So, guys, this is quite the perplexing story. So, in the simplest way, Jordan, let's start with you. For our listeners and viewers, what happened to FTX in your own words?
Yeah, this is very simple. The fundamentals of cryptocurrency are still intact. The Bitcoin network is strong. It's never gone down. In fact, we've seen all-time highs in terms of user accounts on the network and the hash rate. It's fantastic. And I think the business case for why we need Bitcoin in a period of hyperinflation, rising interest rates globally, is stronger now more than ever. What you have here is a bad actor, a case of a centralized exchange that took on user deposits, that was domiciled in a sketchy jurisdiction in the Bahamas, that worked hand in hand with the government to change that regulation, that had no true governance, never held a board meeting, had a massive lack of internal financial controls and cash controls, where they were supposed to be fiduciaries of, as you said, Zen, $1.8 billion in outside capital. We saw that largely spent on personal apartments. We saw that allocated towards really aggressive market making over at Alameda, the other firm that you mentioned. This is just a breakdown in trust in our space. Sam was a public figure, a spokesperson for crypto in the United States, active in DC, lobbying US regulators, working with Gary Gensler and the current administration to create pro-crypto and crypto-friendly regulation. But as it turned out to be a massive disappointment and even a fraud in some cases. So we're still dealing with this. We're learning more every day, but it's a big shock for all of us working in the crypto space.
Yeah, FTX's collapse, really, if you think of it, this took place over a 10-day period, right? So the catalyst for this crisis was back on a November 2nd scoop by CoinDesk that revealed that Alameda Research, the trading firm also run by Sam, held a position worth $5 billion in FTT, the native token of FTX. And the report revealed that Alameda's investment foundation was also in FTT, the token that its sister company had invented, not a fiat currency or other cryptocurrency. And that prompted concern across the cryptocurrency industry regarding Bankman's company's undisclosed leverage and solvency. That was the beginning of the end. Mo, what are your thoughts here?
Oh, where to start? I mean, Jordan covered quite a lot early on. I think what's super interesting is that what this has shown is that centralization is an issue. And what there should be is more of a focus on decentralization. So if we were using a decentralized exchange like Uniswap or SushiSwap, for example, there wouldn't be this issue because there wouldn't be any main actors who hold control over the ecosystem, where there are gray areas. On a decentralized exchange, there are no gray areas. It is clearly black and white. So I think for me, that was one of the biggest takeaways to strengthen the position of decentralization within the ecosystem. Directly in terms of what happened with FTX, we can look through it. We can look through what's on chain. We can look through what's off chain. But fundamentally, it was bad actors. Again, to echo what Jordan was saying, and it's quite interestingly, crypto Twitter played a big part as well, because after the CoinDesk report, it wasn't until 4 days later when CZ came out saying they were going to liquidate just over 2 billion worth of FTT token, and that's what started the cascade effect into what's now happened.
Great segue. So this is going to take me into the next question. So like you just said, Mo, this is where it all starts to go down. So the world's largest crypto exchange, Binance, walks away from a deal to acquire FTX. And the starting point of FTX's troubles really was July of last year when Binance was an early investor in the exchange, sold its stake, right? And they are rivals for 2.1 billion worth of FTT, the token launched by FTX. And I keep repeating this so people don't get confused between FTT and FTX, right? And at the time, the move was seen as a logical parting of ways, so to speak, because a rift had formed between Bankman-Fried and Binance's CZ, Changpeng Zhao, who had very differing views on the approach to regulating crypto. So their differing views on approach to regulating crypto, Jordan, what do you say to this? Was this really the reason why this all just fell apart?
Oh, there's many reasons why this fell apart, and we're learning those reasons in real time. But one of the biggest was Sam had spent over $100 million in the United States buying access to US regulators, to the Biden administration, largely all given to the Democratic Party, in hopes of creating a pro-crypto friendly framework for how companies like FTX could thrive. What we saw was a very serious accusation by CZ, the CEO and founder of Binance, that Bankman was using this access to effectively block Binance and was in fact bad-mouthing Binance in DC. And of course, rightfully so, CZ was upset. What's fascinating is we saw this take place, as Mohammed mentioned, in real time on crypto Twitter. CZ actually took to Twitter to call Sam Bankman-Fried out. I think we're going to learn that there were a couple major missteps and mistakes that Sam Bankman-Fried made, not just being over leveraged, not just creating your own form of cryptocurrency and borrowing against it, but the ego that he must have had to buy out the number one cryptocurrency exchange in the world, to buy them out when they're his seed investor. He didn't have to do that. To give Binance that kind of leverage over him and over the exact token that he was using as collateral, FTT, as you mentioned, Zen, this is, easily the beginning of the end. And Binance being in that position, of course, freaked the market. Whether or not CZ even sold any of that, it was enough to create that bank run. And within a 24-hour period, you saw over $5 billion in withdrawal demands. Of course, that's what created that liquidity crunch. And that's where it all, the music stopped for Sam.
The music definitely stopped very abruptly. And, interestingly enough, within hours of filing for bankruptcy, FTX was hacked. So the exchange noted unauthorized transactions that may have stolen close to 500 million in assets, and which were spotted by Elliptic. Okay, so the hacker continued to drain wallets for several days using what analysts called an on-chain spoofing. But the hacker reportedly then invested those funds into Ether. What? How does this even happen? Mo, please pipe in here.
Yeah, I think the hack was just over 600 million. What was super interesting was that the balance sheet had also emerged, and there was roughly, I think, an $8 billion gap between liability and assets. So that there was a lot of misgivings. I think there was also November 7th, I think it was, is when Alameda CEO, so Caroline, had offered to Binance to buy the FTT tokens at $22 market price. So again, this was something for those who've been on crypto Twitter for a number of years. Whenever there was talks of anything negative around FTT, it's always, we'll buy anything you have at market price. And they continued in that vein. But this time it was the beginning of the end. I think it's notable to mention that Luna and the fall of the Terra Luna ecosystem probably did have a big impact on the FTX ecosystem due to the liquidation engine they have at the back end, which was supposedly the best way to protect market makers. Essentially, it wasn't protecting anyone. It was just having no veils between market maker and exchange in that instance. And they were, for a period of time, the only way to exit liquidity from the Terra Luna ecosystem. So there was maybe somewhere between a 5 to 10 billion hole on their balance sheet. So I think this does go back, and there's, to Jordan's point, there are a number of different things, and I feel this is one of the instigating factors as well for a big windfall or gap on their balance sheet.
Yeah, and all this was prompted by the freeze that you're referencing that took place on November 10th. There was another freeze by the Bahamas securities regulators. They froze the assets of FTX Digital Markets. Now, FTX's Bahamian subsidiary is that, FTX Digital Markets. And this was following the news that Bankman-Fried was seeking up to $8 billion in capital to bail out the exchange. And on that same day, the Californian Department of Financial Protection and Innovation unauthorized transactions on FTX. So now you have this Bankman-Fried, where he was just 28 years old, not that seasoned, but sorry, FTX became one of the largest crypto exchanges in just 3 years with such a massive valuation of $32 billion. He used aggressive marketing, including a Super Bowl ad campaign and the purchase of naming rights to the home of the Miami Heat basketball team. He became known for his political lobbying, to Jordan's point, and donations, and was well known for supporting the cryptocurrency industry very broadly. I mean, as values plunged early in 2022, he facilitated deals totaling about $1 billion to bail out cryptocurrency companies struggling as a result of the declines in token prices. So to the naked eye, he was the most trustworthy stand-up guy. Jordan, do you think it all just got out of control? I mean, if he makes Bernie Madoff look like an amateur.
Absolutely. This is way bigger than Bernie Madoff. This is way bigger than Enron. What we have just witnessed is not just the worst week in cryptocurrency history. What we have witnessed is an individual who duped not just an entire industry, but duped the Ontario Teachers Pension Fund, duped Sequoia Capital, duped the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Singapore. Temasek was the venture arm of GIC, the Sovereign Wealth Fund in Singapore, and deployed capital at a $25 billion valuation in their round. I believe that closed. That was $420 million in at $25 billion, which was October of 2021. And as you said, he was in the market raising money at a $32 billion valuation. This individual paid Bill Clinton to come to his conference, FTX Bahamas, in the Bahamas. This individual surrounded himself with Tom Brady and Giselle and Kevin O'Leary, and massive public spokespeople. As you mentioned, that Super Bowl ad with Larry David that's now being parodied because Larry David is literally quoted in that ad as saying, "Nah, I don't think so," in reference to FTX being a trustworthy platform. Sam's not a kid. We can say he's 28 years old. He's not much younger than me. Sam's an adult. He's a man. Yeah. He has responsibility. And the whole charade of being, whether he's on the spectrum or whether he can't make eye contact, this is all nonsense that we have to put aside and recognize that you were a fiduciary of the money that you raised. You had a responsibility to the 5 million plus global users of your platform, many of whom have had, their entire life savings wiped out. He needs to pay. Someone needs to be held accountable. The reason this is also different, one of the comments I'm hearing is, no one went to jail, after the 2008-2009 financial crisis. The truth is we didn't have a villain then. We had a group of banks, almost no bank was left out, and almost everyone was playing with over collateral there or over levered there with mortgage-backed securities and credit default swaps and things of that nature. What you have here is a true villain. You have an individual who's now become the face, amidst the Elizabeth Holmes trial and everything else. People have forgotten about Do Kwon. People are, not even talking about that anymore. They're talking about this one individual who pulled one over the entire industry. Someone's got to pay for this. I'd be very surprised if Sam gets off without any jail time here. I do think that someone's got to go to prison for it. My prediction is it's Sam, and I predict that aggressive regulators, specifically the Southern District of New York, come after him with everything they've got.
Wow, that's some prediction. And you know what? I echo your sentiment. Those are very, very wise words from a true expert. We are out of time. Mo, thank you so much for piping in. Jordan, what a pleasure having you on. What a great enlightening conversation. And thank you for clarifying what went wrong and, how to make sense of it all.
Thanks for having us.
That was Hello Open Metaverse, brought to you by Animoca Brands, featuring the awesome Jordan Fried, CEO and founder of NFT.com, and Mohammed Ezeldin, head of tokenomics at Animoca Brands. The ongoing implications for the future of FTX and the broader cryptocurrency industry are ongoing and difficult to assess. You have to remember to do your homework, always research, and remember, get your edutainment from a trusted source. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Animoca Brands as a worldwide industry leader in digital, entertainment, blockchain, gamifications, and digital property rights. Animoca Brands plays a key role in the future growth of the metaverse. Ranked by the Financial Times as a high-growth company, Animoca Brands creates a new asset class, GameFi economies, and a more equitable digital framework contributing to the building of the open metaverse. For more information and to become part of the excitement, go to animocabrands.com. That's animocabrands.com.
All right, so let's pick up this conversation. So The FTX collapse has been compared to the 2014 blowup of MTGOX, once the top crypto exchange that accounted for around 70% of Bitcoin transactions until its fatal hack. Users who lost funds in that disaster are still waiting for compensation after years of delay to a really lengthy court battle. It's feared that FTX victims, Jordan and Mo, could have a similar wait ahead of their assets if they receive anything at all. Mo, we'll start with you. What will happen to FTX?
I think the worst has happened already. They've applied for bankruptcy. They're insolvent. No one's going to require FTX in its current state. This is the end. But while it's the end of FTX, it's by no means the end of crypto. And I think we need to echo that sentiment right now, that this is a black day in crypto. We've had black swan events, and you've referenced one with the Mt. Gox hack. But every time, as a community, we've come back stronger. And I see this being no different. The fact that Bitcoin hasn't gone to zero, the fact that we're still here having this conversation, it means the future's bright. I know over at Animoca Brands, our focus is always on building, and it's not just us that share that sentiment as well. What we're building for the future is, and it's not just us, we look at brands like Nike, like Adidas, like Ubisoft. There are so many people entering the space. If you're active on Twitter, you saw that JP Morgan have applied for an e-wallet, so for you to be able to host your cryptocurrency. So actually we're seeing more conventional businesses enter the space. So for me, while this might be the end of FTX, it's by no means the end of crypto. If anything, this can only make us stronger.
Well said. Well said. So the key takeaways are FTX collapses in early November of this year following a report by CoinDesk highlighting potential leverage and solvency concerns involving the trading firm Alameda Research. And then FTX faced a liquidity crisis and a search for bailout funds. And we have the rival exchange Binance considered buying portions of the company, but they quickly backed out. By November 11th of 2022, this very year, FTX's CEO stepped down and the company filed for bankruptcy. Then you have, in the hours following that, FTX experienced a possible hack in which hundreds of millions worth of tokens were stolen. So this is a very strange course of events. Jordan, how will this set the community back, and what needs to change going forward?
Yeah, I think we can learn a lot from the collapse of FTX. The first is, if you were to really look at Sam Bankman-Fried and his intentions, I think we can now come to the conclusion that Sam was never a proponent of the vision behind decentralization or Bitcoin itself. If you look at that 2008, 2009 white paper, it was released at a time where it was very reactionary to the financial crisis that was happening globally at the time. It was this idea that banks shouldn't be the one being the ones bailed out after taking us almost to the brink of a financial Armageddon. The world needs a decentralized internet native payment mechanism where we can send money to each other to the opposite side of the globe without Visa, without MasterCard, without American Express, without Western Union or MoneyGram, and something that's inflationary, but only to a point where there'll never be more than 21 million Bitcoin, unlike the US dollar or pounds, where the last few years during a global pandemic, it's been printed recklessly. So what we've learned is that there's a value for that decentralization. As Mo pointed out, right now, you've got to be feeling pretty good about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency if you are in the space, recognizing that we're still here, even after the second largest exchange in the world has disappeared. I think that the lessons here are, one, if you don't know where the yield on your coins is coming from, you're likely the yield. You really need to understand that, and you shouldn't be putting your money in places where you do not understand where you're getting paid. And we learned that with Three Arrows Capital. We learned that with Terra Luna in the Anchor protocol, where they were paying 20% yields. Of course, that was unsustainable and came crashing down. We learned that here also with BlockFi, and now also with FTX and the cascading effects it's having in the industry with Genesis trading and everything else. It remains to be seen who else will fall next. So be careful out there. And the next bit, and Mo also pointed this out, is if it's not your keys, it's not your crypto. You need, and one of the biggest value propositions of a blockchain is 24/7, 365 access to your capital. You can cross borders with your blockchains, with your blockchain native assets like NFTs or stable coins, or even Bitcoin itself, these protocol native tokens. So We need to understand this as an industry. We need to do a better job making sure that the applications we're building are onboarding people to not centralized interfaces like an FTX or a Binance, but to true crypto native applications. The folks at Animoca Brands do a great job making sure users are using Web3 native wallets. NFT.com is non-custodial as an example. And I don't say that to plug our platform, Zen. I say that because we have a responsibility to our users to make sure they know we're never in possession of their assets.
Well said. No, you didn't come off as plugging your platform. That's my job to do, and that's why I love to plug these platforms, because even from the millennial mom's perspective, in these very edutainment segments that trend extremely well for people to want to be able to gain knowledge, because we do the research for them. So having an expert like you come on and give your sound advice and opinion and really bird's eye view, but also experts view, that is invaluable and priceless. And Mo, you have that same ability. So right now, there's civil lawsuits that are being filed. In one such class action lawsuit, Sam Bankman-Fried is named along with several celebrities who have promoted FTX in the past, including Tom Brady, Larry David, Naomi Osaka, Shaquille O'Neal, and Steph Curry. So the pressures are mounting and regulators are going to start to come out. Mo, talk to me about the message Animoca Brands wants to give to the cryptocurrency community right now.
The message has to be what we always believe in, which is the open metaverse, which is we are in this together. FTX was a bad actor. We're still yet to see what the complete fallout of this is, but we're in it together. We're building. What we're all aiming for is to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. And it's, again, not your crypto, not your keys. But I think what's super interesting and something we don't talk about enough is how NFTs have changed the game and how they've allowed a new, I guess, the next 1 million or 10 million users to come into the space from that aspect, and the power that we're seeing, especially on an application layer where with fungible tokens, people didn't actually understand what the use cases were from your everyday layman. But as an NFT, if I'm a musician, I know now I don't need to sign my soul away to a record label. I'm in control of my own. I have ownership over my own assets. And if I'm a game developer, I can now have ownership, or players can have ownership over their in-game assets as well. So I think there's a lot of positives happening in the space. It would be a shame just to focus on the fallout from FTX of all of the great building that's happening behind the scenes as well.
Well said. Well, we are out of time. Jordan, thank you so much for coming on. Mo, what a pleasure. Very, very great, enlightening segment, and spot on with your commentary. Thank you, my experts.
Thank you
so much.
All right, guys, the ongoing implications for the future of FTX and the broader cryptocurrency community industry are ongoing and difficult to assess. But like Mo said, Animoca Brands is here to ensure a safe, open metaverse for all. Experts like Jordan Fried are far and few in between in an escalating industry where everybody claims that they have the next big thing. Remember, you have to do your homework. It's not easy to just invest in something you are not well versed on. Knowledge is power, and don't forget that. That was Jordan Fried, founder and CEO of NFT.com, chairman of Immutable Holdings, the Web3 holding company, and founding team at Hedera Hashgraph. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. That was our Hello Open Metaverse, brought to you by Animoca Brands, featuring the awesome Mo Izzeldin, head of tokenomics. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Revere Securities. Revere is committed to building a relationship of trust in which they work closely with you to help you define your objectives, explore alternatives, and choose the financial and investment strategies that are most appropriate for you. Go to reveresecurities.com.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. We are at the end of our date. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could go to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. Also remember that we're now live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and all episodes of A Moment of Zen are now available on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV streaming platform. Head to mox.yourhometv.com. Again, that's mox.yourhometv.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. Don't forget to tune in, same time, same place. Thank you for listening. It has been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make this happen. And remember, happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it.